Welcome to ONPAR, a formative assessment platform for NGSS classrooms. ONPAR is a rigorous, NGSS-aligned formative assessment system for checks of understanding in the middle school science classroom. They're automatically graded tasks with rich, actionable feedback for students and teachers. For students, this means that they get both information about how they did, as well as some prompts to help guide some of their thinking and goal setting. And on the teacher end, it's great because it saves them time on grading, and the reports also really help teachers find patterns in the data quickly. Interactive questions allow for some deep engagement, and I'll show you what those might look like in a minute. They're also universally designed to reduce the reading load. We know a lot of times science tests can start to look more like reading tests, and that makes it hard to distinguish between what your students know about science and how well they can just read and understand the questions in front of them. And so you'll see in ONPAR kind of what are some of the things we did to help teachers really tease out the difference between those two. And then finally, we've done a bunch of studies to make sure these questions are effective, valid, and reliable. ONPAR has 12 different units of middle school science. You can see them here. And each unit contains 3 different types of tasks: full length, mini, and paper. Now I'm going to show you what an item series might look like. This comes from our chemical reactions unit. You can see that they're setting up this chemical reaction by showing students this animation of zinc metal and hydrochloric acid combining to form hydrogen gas and zinc chloride. Here, it's now going to ask them to model the investigation that they just watched. And so I've already modeled the part on the left, and you're seeing me kind of pull these hydrogen atoms over. It's asking the student to understand that the H2 at the bottom means a pair of hydrogen atoms. It's also asking students to understand the law of conservation of matter in how they're balancing the equation at the same time they're modeling it. And so because I had already made 4 hydrogens on the left, I know I need 4 hydrogens on the right to give me 2 H2 molecules. On this question, I want to highlight some of the language supports. And so you'll see as my cursor goes over these hyperlinked words and phrases, different images showing up in the corner, or highlighting parts of the data table. And so that's kind of helping give students support for some of the vocabulary. And then this is a pretty common sentence frame structure we have where students are able to drag and drop color-coded words and phrases into the box to help them build some of their argumentative skills. And so this is a high-level question asking students what evidence they would need of a chemical reaction, and then whether this reaction gives them that evidence. Now we're going to look at some reports. And so this is the student report that shows up immediately after finishing. It has 3 different tabs, and the first one focuses on screen by screen progress. So you can see kind of that progress bar down the center left. I can see at a glance that screen 7 went really well, and then not quite as good on the last couple questions. And then it gives them some focus questions. So on screen 7, they did great. It says outstanding thinking. But then on screen 12 asks them, well, what characteristic, the yellow, is the best evidence for identifying a substance? Here is the middle tab of the student report. We call it Watch Big Idea Videos. And as educators, we see science ideas, the practices, the cross-cutting concepts. This is the 3 dimensions of NGSS. You can see again that we're not thinking about pass-fail, but we can see this beginning, developing, advanced metric, and then it gives them some suggestions. So to make progress, you may need to work on your understanding of how atoms and molecules are arranged in mixtures and pure substances. It tells them what screens to look at, and then it also gives them a short video they can watch, usually 30 seconds, giving just a little bit more detail about what that means to help kind of guide their thinking and give students a little more ownership over where to go next. The final tab of the student report you can see is titled Reflect and Plan. It gives students just an emoji to choose to say, hey, I think I did okay, or I did really great. It gives them an open-ended text box to describe one thing that they did well so they can highlight a strength, and then to pick an area of improvement. And then finally, At the bottom, you see what screens do you still need help understanding. So maybe they watched that big idea video, but they're still confused about screens 5 and 7. Then that will get communicated to their teacher. Then in the teacher view, those checkboxes are converted to the flags that you see here. You can see that the teacher report is broken down into 3 tabs, mirroring the student report. It gives you this really quick color coding to help you see, all right, at a glance, I can tell that screen 4 was pretty tough for my students, but screens 3 and 9 look like they were really successful. Or I can go kind of student by student. It looks like student DOS is really doing great, but student 4 is having a lot more struggles. The next tab of the teacher report looks at the 3 dimensions. So you can see here, these orange are the scientific ideas, our DCIs. And again, at a quick glance, we're struggling with the law of conservation matter, but chemical formulas are doing really great. Then here you see the practices and cross-cutting concepts. And so what these first 2 tabs are helping teachers do is see the patterns in their students, either by screen or by dimension. They can find groups of students that they might want to pull for a reteach, or figure out what they don't need to reteach at all, what they need to show to the whole class over again. And it's really helping kind of empower teachers to just better adjust their instruction to meet student needs. Then the final tab here is the reflections, again, mirroring that student report. So I can see what emojis did different students choose. I can see what strengths they listed, what their plan is. And then there's also space to write a message if this is where the teacher would like to give feedback to students. Please reach out with any questions. We're happy to talk in greater detail about our ONPAR assessment platform.